Hi everybody, this is Oksana. So I thought that in time for Valentine's Day, I would do a heart-themed pendant. I do have other heart-themed jewelry pieces that I've made tutorials for in the past. I'll make a little playlist and I'll link that for you guys if you're interested. But the one I'm making today is a good, fairly beginner-friendly one. There's a little bit of weaving, and then some of these little details can be a little tricky just because they're small, but there's no cabochon to secure or anything like that, just a little bit of beads, which makes it much easier. So if you want to see how I made this heart-themed pendant, just keep watching. For our wire, we're going to be using two types, 20 gauge round and 26 gauge round. These are dead soft copper. These spools are from riogrande.com. And for the tools, I'm going to be using three different tools. The cutters to cut the wire. These are Swanstrom brand. Pliers. These are Lindstrom RX 7890. And then these right here, these are called bail making pliers, and they basically just have these little round portions of different sizes on them. If you don't have a tool like this, you can just use something small and round instead, like a chopstick. You can use round nose pliers for some of it as well. These are obviously a little bit easier to use, but if you don't have them, it's not the end of the world. You can kind of work around that. So I'm going to start out with one piece of that 20 gauge wire. You can size this up to 18 for something a little bit thicker and sturdier, but I'm just going to use 20 in this video. But if you make it larger than mine in size, then I would size up to 18. So this is about 9.5 inches long, and I'm just going to bring the ends of that together so that I can determine where the middle of my wire is. And in the middle, I am going to make a bend. This is going to be the bottom of the heart shape. So I'm just trying to make that little point like on the bottom of a heart. Obviously, it can be a little wider, a little narrower. It's kind of up to you, the way that you want your heart to look. And now after you've done that, here comes the tricky part, and that is making the actual shape of the heart. Now, for me personally, I like to kind of eyeball things, and I'm not necessarily like a measure everything precisely type of person. But if you wanted to measure a certain distance on these and mark it, that way you can start on the same exact portion here when you bend the top curved part of your heart. You could do that. I like to play around and then like just adjust if I need to make one side higher, one side lower, but basically this is how I go about making the heart. So grab something round and not too small, but kind of small-ish. This is a ring mandrel, and I'm going to be using the smallest part of it, which is a size 1, but if you have like a pen or a marker, something like that would work just as well. So I'm going to position it kind of here where I envision kind of roughly that rounded portion of the heart to be. I just have to move my ring mandrel because it's not perfectly round. It's got this little bit so that I have to move it to make sure that I don't bend my wire around that part, because it's gonna not be as good. All right, so this is one part of my heart. I'm just gonna press right here because there's like a little bend there. There we go. Try to make it a little bit more rounded. And then you want this side to go, kind of give yourself just a little bit of space here. Kind of have it go like this. All right, so after I do that one side, I just try to make the other side identical. So this is where, if you marked it, like where to begin, you would know exactly where to put this ring mantle. But for me, I kind of have to eyeball it and then see. All right, so that is too low. So I'm just gonna get in here, raise that up a little bit, and then start bending it again. Okay, that seems to be a better height. So let's see if we bend it. Yep, that seems to be good. Just try to get this to be as close together as possible without overlapping. And now I'm just trying to get these to be the same distance. Again, you could measure if you wanted it to be perfect, but roughly like that. All right, so now this is optional, but if you wanted to hammer it for strength, now would be the time. So what I would do is just hold this little heart, just put this down on the ground. I'm just holding it in the air for demonstration purposes, but you need an iron block to hammer on, or something similar, and then you need a chasing hammer, which is a jewelry type of hammer, and we're going to hammer with the flat side. So first I'm going to hammer these little curved portions here. And now I'm going to hammer just this little tip of the heart. If you can't get in there, you don't have to hammer that part. And now that we've done that, we're gonna go ahead and do the little weaving pattern right here. The only purpose of that is to hold these two wires together. If you just really don't like weaving or have trouble with it, you could always make a tiny little jump ring and put it around these two wires to hold it together. You could also use half round wire if that's something that you have, and make a few wraps. That's easier than weaving a pattern. But if you want to weave a little pattern, this is how you would do it. So putting the wire through both of these like that, just bringing it up here where they are just right next to each other. And I will leave a link to a video I have on this weaving pattern as well. But I'll show you the pattern here just in case you don't follow it as well. You can have the other video. So I am bringing the wire up like this. You can see there's a little wrap that was formed here around just that bottom wire. I'm actually going to use my pliers to help myself here. This is a delicate area. I don't want to misshape my heart. So I'm just going to use my pliers to fix this little wrap because it was kind of not as tight as I would like. So there we go. There's that little wrap. Now the wire is coming here above this top wire. So I'm bringing it down and to the back, basically just underneath that wire again, like that. So I'm just gonna try and pull it tight, and if I have trouble, I'm gonna use my pliers to help. Normally these edges wouldn't be in the way and I can like pull the wire backwards, but we're a little bit limited here. The mobility is a little bit limited here, so have to work around that. So now I'm going to bring this all the way down across both wires like this, and then kind of up and around this bottom wire like that. And now up to the top. And we want it to go around the top wire now. So kind of down and then around that top wire there. right, and now just all the way down. You can really see the little pattern starting to form. So around the bottom wire, up, around the top wire, and down across both wires. Bottom wire, up around the top wire, and this might be enough. It's up to you how much you do. Like, you can do a little longer. If you wanted to. Let me just tighten that up. I'm gonna do just a little bit more because I like the way it looks. So let's see if adding just a little bit more will look good. So around the bottom, around the top, down across both, around the bottom, around the top, and I think this is where I'm going to end it. So that's the step at which you want to end it, is after you've wrapped it around the top wire. So you know the pattern goes around the bottom wire, around the top, down across both. So before you do down across both, this is where you want to end it so that you can tuck away the little wire end. So basically I'm just going to trim this. I'll show you guys, and leave a little end. See that little end there? I'm just going to take my pliers and tuck that little end in there. Kind of just press down on that. And it's good if it's nice and short so it doesn't poke through to the other side. That's the key thing here as well. And we're going to do that here. So we have this little wrap going around this wire. So I'm going to sort of unravel that a little bit so that I can do the same thing where I trim it like that. But I have a little end, and then I take my end and I kind of press it down so it ends up being in here in the middle, but not so long that it goes to the other side. This is the tricky thing about making pendants, where the weave is going to be exposed on both sides. You know, this is the front of the pendant, this is the part that'll be, you know, touching your shirt or skin or whatever when you're wearing it. So you don't want pokey wire ends on either side, and that's sort of a way to hide them in the middle. All right, so after doing that, I am just trying to get these to be as equal and symmetrical as I can, and we are going to finish up these little wires by connecting them to this edge. But before we do that, I'm going to add some beads to them. It's up to you. Sorry, I'm just trying to get them to be as exact as I can. It's up to you whether you add beads. It's a great way to add a little bit of color if you wanted to, but you can also just have only wire and not add any beads. So I looked through my stash of beads and I found some that I think work well for this little space, kind of 2 smaller beads and then a larger bead like this. So after I put them on, I am bending the wire to the back. I am trimming this but leaving a little bit. If you don't know how much to leave, I would do a little longer and then just cut it shorter if it ends up being too long. It's easier than, you know, cutting it too short and not having enough wire. So I leave myself a little end. It's probably like 2 millimeters long, just enough to take it and bend it in this direction, and then kind of close it up like this so that there's no pokey wire bit. It's closed up. So just going to do the same thing to the other side now. So just adding the beads, bending that wire to the back like this, and now we are going to trim that, but leave a little end so that we can press on the end and just kind of curve it inwards into the beads and away from anywhere where it could poke you. So like that. So this is the front of our piece. Now you're going to take one little piece of that 20 gauge wire. This is actually a little scrap, a little end that I had cut off of that heart that was excess. And it's 2 inches long. So I'm going to hold it kind of roughly in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just roughly in the middle. And I'm going to bend it in half. And then I'm going to just squish that like that. And now what you want to do is you want to hold it with your pliers, just the tip of it, like this. And then the 2 wires, you're going to bend one to the right and one to the left. So you can tell if I'm holding it like this, but it's kind of hard for me to hold it this way, but I'll try. Basically, it makes a little heart shape. So I'm just kind of slowly bending it into a heart shape, trying my best to keep it as symmetrical as possible, like this. And you can make the heart slightly bigger or slightly smaller. If you make it bigger, you just need to cut your wire a little bit longer. But now we're gonna take the little end and we're gonna bend it this way. And you can see the end is a little bit long, a little bit here, like that, because I want the end to just completely wrap around, but I don't want it to be too long. I want the end to basically hit this wire. It's going to be hidden because it's going to be touching the wire, like that. So then see, you don't see the wire end if you look this way. And now this one, we are going to bend it this way. So again, I'm on the back, bending it basically around that other little end there. Now I'm just going to trim it because it's just a smidge too long. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to bend that down, 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 and it's gone. No sharp edges. The ends are finished. And this is what the heart looks like from the front. Now we're going to make some jump rings. So you can use round nose pliers for this, or if you have these, I'm just using the smallest size to bend around. A jump ring is basically just a little ring, exactly what it sounds like, that you can use to attach things together. It's really helpful to hammer your jump rings as well for strength, since this is dead soft wire. If you don't want to make your own, they do sell jump rings made out of harder wire. So I'm just gonna trim this a little end off. And now I'm going to cut, let's see, this way, so I get a nice flat edge. The way that the cutters work is this edge ends up being flat, and then the other edge ends up being sort of pinched. So by doing this, I have 2 flat edges. But now, this little edge here of the next jump ring it's kind of pinched, so I'm going to use this flat edge, trim that off, and I'm going to face it this way and trim. And that's all we need is just 2 jump rings. So really quickly, I'm just going to hammer this for strength off camera, just how I showed you hammering before, exactly like that, just on an iron block. So here are my little jump rings. After I hammered them, they look a little bit flatter. They also are open. That's mostly from the hammering. So what I'm going to do is take one of them, kind of open it up this way so I can attach it right here. This is the front of my pendant, and then I'm going to take this little heart and attach this like that. So what I have to do now is close up this jump ring. So just like this, so it won't come open. And now I'm going to take my other jump ring and I'm going to attach this side of the heart to right here. So I'm going to take my jump ring, kind of get it open, get it around here, get my little heart, make sure it's positioned correctly, it didn't flip over backwards or anything because it moves a lot. Oops, now it came off. All right, let's try this again. And the result is this. We just have to now make our bail. For the bail, I'm taking a piece of wire, the 20 gauge round wire, and this is 2 inches long. I'm bending it in the middle, trying to get it as good as I can. And we are going to flatten this down. Like that. And like that. And you could, if the little ends are not perfect, you can trim them. Mine are, they're almost perfect. I guess the top end is just a little bit longer. And now I'm going to take these again, and I'm going to use this size for the bigger part of my bail. So I'm just wrapping around that little end where it was folded. So these are the other 2 little ends, the ones that we trimmed. And that's going to be where our necklace goes through. And now I'm going to take these other ends and bend them, but not all the way. Leave a little gap. So that we can get our pendant on there. So here's my little gap so that I can attach my pendant. So I'm just taking the top of this little heart. Oh, actually, we want this to be facing backwards. So this is the back. And like that. And now I'm gonna just individually, 1 wire at a time, close up this little loop. And the other loop. And that's it. So now we have attached it to our bail. All right, and this is a completed double heart pendant. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, leave me a like down below and don't forget to subscribe. I make new videos every weekend and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.